Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our live webinar session organized by KCM Connect. On behalf of the organization, I, Tathagat, coordinating this session. And due to some technical glitches, we are starting late, few minutes. Sorry for that. KCM Connect is an IT consultancy service provider company pioneering in applications on transport and logistics, and has taken active initiative in technical and skill development along with Industry Culture Connect. You can check our website, that is www.kcmconnect.com. On behalf of KCM Connect, I welcome today's esteemed speakers, Mr. Ramesh Chandra Nagorje, a mechanical engineer graduate, business management professional from XLRI and ICWA from the Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. He is role model for many people who believe that nothing is impossible if you put all your best efforts. He started his career as graduate trainee in the year of 1966 from Tata Steel and become Vice President Finance of Tata Steel in July 1999, and finally hanged his boot in the year 2009 as Executive Director of TRF Limited. Being associated with world-renowned steel manufacturing industry, Tata Steel for so long, his expertise includes niche area like fundraising through bonds and debentures, and issue of rights shares, short-term investments, CAPEX, project evaluation, capital structure for highest credit ratings and lowest WSEC, risk management through forward cover, swaps, and derivatives, corporate governance, and investors' relations, to name few. It is not possible to name all his expertise in few words. In his past experiences, including Tata and other subsidiaries of Tata, and many other companies too, he has been on board of these companies like Tata Services Limited, Tata Shares Registry Limited, New Metallics Kolkata, etc. Changing role of CFO, state of economy, branding a new case study, to name few are his publications. He has been awarded with National Award for Excellence in Corporate Governance for the year 2000 by then Union Finance Ministry, Government of India. CFO of the Year in year 2002, prestigious Golden Peacock Award for Excellence in Corporate Governance and Corporate Social Responsibility conferred by Institute of Directors, and National Award for Excellence in Corporate Governance conferred by ICSI. He has been instrumental in merger and acquisitions of many companies like TSSL and ISWP, and improvement of credit rating of Tata Steel to AAA. Currently, he is working on writing book on Indian economy and providing consultancy on investments too. Please welcome former Senior Vice President Finance from Tata Steel and former Executive Director of TRF Limited, Mr. Ramesh Chandra Nagorje. Our other eminent speaker of the day is Dr. Kunal from IIM Kashipur. Dr. Kunal is working on assessment of Indian economy for last 10 years. He has analyzed impact of FDI inflow on Indian economy at macro, meso, and micro level. This was part of his PhD work at IIT Kanpur. He continued his research work after receiving gold medal from IMI Delhi. He is BTech in Mechanical Engineering and MTech in Aerospace Engineering from IIT Kharagpur. He has undertaken consultancy assignments of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, MPEDA, Ministry of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj. At present, he is working on digital economy and its impact on economy, and Dr. Kunal is working on Assistant Professor of Finance at IIM Kashipur. Before starting the session, let me remind some rules of our webinar. Webinar will last 45 minutes approx, where our esteemed speakers will share their valuable ideas on the issue. Thereafter, we will take questions one after another. To ask questions, please use reaction button and then write your query in chat. Moderator will then allow that participant to ask. I would like to request all, before asking questions, please give your introduction to the audience. Participants are not allowed to switch on audio or video during the running session. In case of any query, please use chat window only to let moderator know your concern. I once again thank you all for the participating in this live webinar. Today, as guest speaker, we have two eminent personalities with us, Professor Prabhat Kumar Sen from XLRI Jamshedpur and IIM Amritsar, and Chairperson of Entrepreneurship Development Center, and Mr. Chandrasekhar Balasubramaniam, Joint Chairman, DBMS Board of Trustees, retired Senior General Manager Finance of Tata Tinplate Limited, and visiting faculty, XLRI Jamshedpur. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence. Now, to start the webinar, please welcome Mr. Nagorje and Dr. Kunal to panel discussion on post-COVID-19 scenario of Indian industries and economy. Sir.
Thank you, Tathagat. Good evening, Dr. Kunal. This subject is so wide, actually. So I thought that I will try to explain most of the things so that all of us are at the same platform. As the name suggests, post this pandemic, that is post-corona, the first question that anybody can ask is, when will it end? If you talk to the experts, what they tell you is any such pandemic can end by two ways. One is if we find a cure for it, that is medicine, and the second is through herd immunity. Now, as far as vaccine is concerned, at the moment there is no vaccine till date. And on top of it, virus is changing its characteristics. You must have seen in the newspapers. First, it was said that when the temperature goes up, it will die on its own, but it is not happening. And also there are various strings of this corona, L shape, Z shape, and so on. So the estimate given by people is anything from 6 to 9 months, the earliest, and maybe it is 2 years also. On the other hand, some companies have claimed that they have developed this medicine, like Serum Institute, Dr. Poonawalla. Last week, he was on record to say that we have tested on humans also, and another 1 week of testing, then we can start producing 5 million doses per month, and after 6 months, we will be producing 10 million doses. So that is one way of coming on the terms with this corona. The second is herd immunity. Herd immunity is if a large number of people get infected and cured, then it provides immunity to the others also. Now, there is a specific terms called recovery index. So as far as corona is concerned, all the experts expect it to be 0.5. How we calculate it also, I will just dwell upon it. Compare it with, let us take some the earlier ones. Uh, the polio is 80% and measles is 90%, whereas uh, corona is 50%. How do we calculate? The herd immunity threshold is calculated 1 minus 1 upon RO, where RO is the basic reproductive index. Some other companies have given some other names also. So if it is 50%, that means if 50% of the people get cured after they are infected, that means if they are in a city, there are 1 million people, so half the million have to be infected and cured. So that is something which is going to take hell of a lot of time. So what do we do? Neither we have injection or vaccine, nor we can wait for such a long time to, therefore, another thing has been found out is lockdown, which we are following it very successfully. What it does, lockdown, it flattens the curve and provides time to get ready for quarantine, masks, protective gear, provision of the some sort of a protection, hospital facilities. Psychological benefit is also there of that we are getting control of the things, which is actually not. But since less number of people are getting sick, therefore we get the feeling of we are getting control. And a reduction in number of deaths as a percentage. Today morning also there was a publication which has said that as far as India is concerned, our death percentage is very, very low compared to others. Now, it's a trade-off between shutting down as well as uh, lockdown and delaying the thing. But economy gets terribly hurt. And that's another thing which the government will have to wait. Now, how does it happen? There is a very good chance of this corona to have a W curve. W curve is it will come down, then gradually go up, then come down again, and then again go. Therefore, reoccurrence of lockdowns you should expect. That as a result, businesses will need to plan accordingly for frequent lockdowns. Lockouts also. Lockdown, sorry, not lockouts. Capital will look to countries which are less battered. So this is a positive as far as we are concerned, because we are less battered and we are better prepared. Emotional and economic backlog against China. As of now, China is supposed to be the place from where it started, or some people say that it is intentionally made. Some people say there was no virus and why did they test it and all sorts of things. But leave those discussions which are just on rumors. But there is an emotional and economic backlash against China where we can take benefit, so benefit India. And on top of it, because of these lockdowns, there is a fall in crude prices. Here also benefit India. What we need to do, be frugal, distinguish good and bad costs. Whatever is essential for the business, spend on that. Don't spend on luxuries, fancy offices, etc. Be future ready. Digitization, automation, and that's where the younger type of people that we have got. Our young workforce is quite heavy. Leave aside persons like us. I passed my engineering with a slide rule. And when my grandson came, he said, "What is this toy?" So he has not even seen those slide rules. Concentrate on core business and leave aside the side businesses. Do not be emotional about any business. For example, my father started it, so it must go on, or so on, such things, which will have its own repercussion. We have to build trust among stakeholders. This is true for large as well as SMEs, vendors, customers, employees, banks, shareholders. I will discuss all those things in a greater detail. As another thing to important is what my first boss in finance used to say: turnover or sale is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. Therefore, we have to conserve cash at all costs. Discretionary spending, that leads us to discretionary spending. Health and safety is going to be number one on the agenda of everybody. So what will it result into? Benefit of insurance companies and healthcare companies. Ticket size of spending will come down. Spending on cheaper goods, delayed spending, that whatever we can delay, spend it later, which will be again, I attended recently a meeting of SMEs. They were talking about government support and how much cash the government can inject. I will cover that also later. Extreme acceleration on digital economy. This is going to be a winner at the end. Home education, home entertainment, home fitness, Netflix, etc., are going to be more and more in demand. Loyalty shock. A after effect of corona is going to be loyalty shock. That is, people will be less loyal to brands that I have been using it, let's say for a shaving cream for ages, and it is going. There is a second one available which is doing 95% of the job and maybe 30% cheaper. So people will move. Frequent brand switching. Trust deficit. Now banks are going to be very, very wary of lending. Even at today, banks are flush with money. After 1,70,000 crores and another 50,000 crores have been injected by RBI, multiplied by the velocity of money. So that is the type of money which is available. But banks are not easily giving the loans. So we have to make sure that our whatever proposal we take are absolutely watertight and we are able to convince. Government stimulus. This is a highly debated subject because everybody says that the government must support me. Government must give these small industries help, otherwise we will close down. Now go to the global picture. Global, Indian economy is 3 trillion, 3 trillion. This year it may become, in fact, Dr. Kunal will be able to throw more light on this. That means every week from taxes, the collection is going to be 60 to 70 billion dollars. On 3 trillion, if you have to go to 60 into 52 is 3 trillion. With this total size of the economy to be 3 trillion, at best, the government can take a hit of how much? Say 1 trillion. And 1 trillion will not go as a stimulus. They have to support, give free food, run their government anyway. So this is, government has got very little leeway to provide stimulus. So they will be forced to lift lockdown with consequential effects. Government would be forced to spend on mass health and mass welfare. Please note, because they have to win elections also. So we can borrow from outside as well. In fact, Mr. Chandrasekhar, when he did his presentation, he touched upon borrowing. But what are the positives as far as India is concerned? We have a rural economy which has not been affected much. Little bit of course, the movement of food grains, etc., have been affected, but by and large, it has not been impacted. Young population, much less impact to them compared to Europe and USA. All of you are familiar with the figures that are coming from them. Merchants and small shops are not much leverage. That means their debt percentage is very low. Fall in oil price will give you benefit as far as inflation is concerned, and government will can also skim some money out of it, which they are doing anyway. Strong internal consumption. So as soon as we come back to manufacturing, so we can come quickly to earlier levels. 8 weeks of lockdown should not have very severe impact. It will have, but it should not have. And if the things rebound, if the things don't rebound, then we are in trouble. Stock market collapse should not be a cause of worry. The old prices will come back, in my judgment, in 2 years' time. Work from home will reduce costs, and some estimates have been made in IT and other companies. The cost can come down by 30%. We are largest exporter of medicines. That is going to be another positive for us. Digitization in India is at a low level, so there's a big potential. So all these are positives as far as we are concerned. So we should be able to bounce back quickly. What are the results of backlash against China? This is highly downtown, but it is not so going to be so easy. Internationally, economical and emotional backlash is there, but business with supply chains via China will need to build alternatives. And if we want them to come to India, there is a competition from Vietnam. I went to Vietnam some time back, and they are doing very well. Indonesia, Philippines, they are all in competition, but we have certain advantages. Indian companies need to become contract manufacturers to the world, just like China. And we should be able to do it, provided we put our minds together. All big wealth funds, sovereign funds would be flushed with funds, and we should try to attract those funds, liquidity. Companies with good management and behavior will come out winners. Now, this is one thing that we always have been lacking. If you go to Bangladesh, their this business, if you see garments business, they have captured the market. Why? They are meeting the commitments, they are meeting the quality, they are meeting the designs, they are not failing. So don't cut corners. Export business is going to be a winning situation for us. We have to build trust, live up to promises, deliver on time, deliver promise quantity and quality. Another thing that we should be on par for discussions is wholesale, retail, etc. versus malls. People would prefer to buy from retail stores rather than malls because we have been trained that way. Touch it, see it. We, so that's going to be because what we have to prepare is safety, sanitation, cleanliness, and crowding, etc., to be controlled. Move towards online stores. Customers need to be ring fenced. How do we gift coupons? A lot of companies in India are doing it. Buyback offers. Recently, if you have seen, one of the automobile companies have offered that if you lose your job within a year, we will buy back the vehicle that you have bought from us. And after 4 years, if you want, you can return the car to us and we'll give you 40 or 50%. So this is how buyback offers and ring fencing the customers is going to help. Pricing needs to be relooked. Indian buyers, in any case, and 80% of our economy is internal, maybe more even. And we are very price sensitive. So if you try to build your prices, you may not be able to sell your products. So margins will have to be low, but the volumes will have to be high. Entertainment is going to be as a discretionary system. Cinemas could take a hit. Entertainment could move to Netflix, Prime Videos, etc. Restaurants. Restaurants have got both ways movement. If, in my opinion, restaurants can do very well if we have social distancing, lesser furniture, value for money, good sanitation, good behavior of the people who are running that restaurant. We have to be future ready. So there will be winners and losers in this particular industry. And travel related purchases will definitely drop. As a result, hotels, airlines, etc., are going to be very badly hit. What about real estate? Real estate and brick and mortar. At present, there is a huge inventory. I was in Bombay last year. 30% of the built flats are empty, locked. Pune, same thing. Bombay, Bangalore, I have no numbers, but a lot of people are saying that the flats have been built, but they are empty. Industry is highly leveraged. That means low margins and very high uh, borrowings. In the past, what used to happen is unsold inventory was considered appreciating asset. I don't think it is anymore, especially after demonetization and computerization of tax system. Tax system has been computerized quite significantly in the last 5 6 years. So black money percentage is coming down as far as ordinary persons are concerned. You and me are concerned. Uh, I think that much is suffice to say. Market was ready for a reset even before this corona thing came in, but it will be accelerated now. Business will move to smaller spaces with work from home. That means commercial property prices will come down because earlier if you needed 3,000 square feet, now you will try to do it with 1,500 or 2,000. Jewelry. Somebody, in fact, I was not covering this. Yesterday, somebody spoke to me, will you cover jewelry also from Jamshedpur? Gold as an asset could appreciate, and I suppose it will, because this is a natural hedge. Jewelry as a discretionary spend will take a hit. Jewelry will take a hit, but gold will appreciate. Indian wedding industry will take a hit. Social distancing, cost consciousness, travel avoidance, destination are going to be terribly hit. Related industries, for example, silk, party wear, are going to be hit. What will happen to financial markets? My friend Chandrasekhar was talking to me 2 days back on this. Value creation and value destruction in different companies in the same sector, you will notice. Now, if you see last week, Franklin Templeton, they closed 6 of their debt funds. Whereas debt funds of companies, AMCs, the asset management companies of SBI, are doing quite well. So how do you run it? Risk taking capabilities and risk and reward system. Greed, risk, these have to be seen. You have to see the management who are running this. Don't go by the past track records. High debt, low margin companies will come down. They will find it difficult. They are risky or unscrupulous management. High debt, high margin companies are the best rewarding companies. Know more about CEO, management, leadership, etc. For example, Starbucks. They are doing quite well in such an environment also. New technical areas will come to prominence like cyber security, cloud services, online education, etc. Foreign markets, oil, buy as much as possible, but the problem is where will you keep it? Storage is the limitation. Since India is less bettered, so capital moved to us. But banking system, at one time when I was doing my costing, we were very proud of our banking system. I don't think we are anymore because a lot of NPAs have gone up, unscrupulous handling of debts, etc. And then avoid spikes and uh, ups and downs. So they are not appreciated by people. Outlook for near and future. Large companies probably will be able to tide over this. They have some reserves, so they will be able to wear the effect of lockdown. What will happen to the small companies, medium and small companies? They will not have much of a reserves and also track record. Now they will need a support. As I mentioned earlier, the leeway for the government is very little. How do we handle that? And this is where the issues will come. The government is saying pay for the lockdown period. The small industrialists will say where from I pay it. So government will have to pay some sort of a money to them by way of advance, which they can over a period of time recover, maybe 2 years, 3 years, because we can't do like USA, what Mr. Chandrasekhar mentioned, $500,000 are given. And if 80% of this, that is 4 million, are spent on wages and salaries, they will be treated as grant. But I don't think India is in a position to do that. But some sort of help will have to be done. So my suggestion in this case will be sit together. Government agencies will sit together with the representative or the industry, and we have to find a via media between the two. If we leave it that government will support, it is not going to happen. The government will say, you better look after your people. And if companies close down, to restart, there's a much more cost. Another issue somebody raised with me some 3 weeks back was force majeure. It came with the reference to builders. What will happen to the interest, EMIs and all that. So EMIs have been deferred for 3 months, but they will, in any case, will have to be paid. So should force majeure be used? In my opinion, that is not going to be beneficial, in the sense it will lead to a lot of litigation, and litigation is a issue which kills both sides. As far as government is concerned or the builder is concerned. So the big problem, banks probably will have their legal departments, they can fight, but builder will have to spend that money. Same thing with the buyers. So here also my suggestion is going to be sit across and find a common ground. As I mentioned earlier, work from home, possibility of IT, banks, finance professionals, maybe 30 to 40% reduction in costs is possible for these, not for everybody. Commuting will come down, lower traffic, lower stress, digitization impact for all. So these are some of the things which are going to help. In nutshell, airlines negative, 5-star hotels negative, destination weddings negative, banking, it can go both ways depending on how do you run it. Consumer durables, again, both ways. How do you price it? How do you provide the service? Trust, build the trust. Another thing which recently I have seen as a offshoot of Corona, this cooperatives in farm products. In Maharashtra, they have started a cooperative which buys produce of, say, vegetables, etc. They have taken 2-3 vehicles. What tomatoes were selling at 1 rupee or 2 rupees, they are paying them 5 rupees now. So the farmer gets benefited. They sell it directly to the market, come to the market, and even retailers, and they sell it for 10 rupees and maybe 12 rupees, and customer gets it at 15 rupees, which earlier he was getting at 25 rupees by paying only 1 or 2 rupees to the farmer. So this is cooperative in farm products, vegetables, dairy products, fruits. They are going to be winners. And we have seen in Jamshedpur also supplying to us. I have been buying, sitting at home. We just book the order, they supply us, and at a very reasonable prices. Digitization will be positive. What help will come from? Well-conceived projects. We can't squander limited resources that we have. Track record of the management will be looked at very carefully. Whether small scale or large scale, the banks are not going to lend money so easily. We have to convince them. These organizations who help themselves will get help by saying that we are in this small scale, we should be helped. It is not going to happen. So with these inputs, I think I will leave it to Professor Dr. Kunal, who seems to be very knowledgeable in this. So, Dr. Kunal, you are. Tathagat? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Yeah. So you have already covered a lot. So I am going to brief what is possible, and if there is any duplicacy, I'll skip that. So my focus is going to be on the impact on various economic activities, then how nature of economic activity has been changed during this lockdown period especially, then impact of changed nature of economic activities on Indian economy and industry, then possible scenario of economy and industry in India post COVID-19. And on this issue, I would like to say that Sir has already elaborated in detail industry-wise. Here approach, there are two approaches. One is the quantitative, another is the qualitative. Since data is not available, sufficient data is not available. So if there is any quantitative analysis, it will be half-baked. And this is going to be the one of the limitation of analysis, that due to insufficient data set available. So quantitative approach, up to what extent it is going to be accepted by the community, that is going to be the question. But with this constant, or you can say the limitation, some of the quantity aspect will be taken as indicator for the post COVID scenario. And most of the discussion will be qualitative in nature, which is based on the observation method. As far as economic activities are classified, I have adopted that this can be classified into three major categories. One is the operational, another is the investment, third one is the financing. So how nature of all these economic activities has been affected due to COVID-19, we should understand, and that will help us in understanding that what we are saying the normal situation. So what was the nature we expect in normal condition, and what is the nature that we are able to observe during COVID, and the gap between these two nature. So how much time it will take, that is going to be one of the indicator, or one can say the gap analysis, which helps in understanding the post-COVID scenario. So as far as the operational activity is concerned, so this is going to be taken into two different wings. One is the manufacturing, another is marketing. And here I include logistic as part of the selling and distribution. That is going to be the major two categories. Of course, there is possibility of all those a small subdomain, but I am not going to into detail. And my focus is to focus on all this. So as far as manufacturing activities are going to be affected, so as expert of management, my preference will be discuss on indicator basis. So if anyone is going to analyze that what should be the indicator, so normally we are going to define the indicators as cash conversion cycle. DSI stands for the date of sale in inventory, and DPO, it stands for the days of payment outstanding. So all these are the indicators as far as the manufacturing concerned. So it starts from the procurement of the raw material to the manufacturing. So this total duration is known as the DSI, days of sales in inventory. So as far as this COVID is concerned, this period is getting longer. So that is the one of the major issue, and it leads to the increase in cash conversion cycle. And this increase in cash conversion cycle, which will create financing constraint to all the industry facing the problem. So this is, it is going to obvious, and as far as the impact is concerned, it is going to be negative. Second is the marketing. So after selling, when money is going to be paid by the customer to the company, this period is known as DSO, date of sales in sales outstanding, and it is going to be affected mainly by movement of the products. We are looking from the logistic perspective, and to a certain extent, this lengthening of DSO is going to be reduced with the digital economy. But again, as far as the digital economy from the marketing perspective is concerned, there is limitation. So receiving the order, dispatching the consignment to the customer. So this transaction is going to be done. But again, the problem is the movement. If there is problem in the movement, so movement period is going to be delayed. And it is due to COVID only. So DSO is going to be increased, and this is going to be lead to the longer cash conversion cycle, and that will result into the financing constraint for the company. And as far as the manufacturing concern is concerned, so we are concerned about two important factors, capital and labor. That is the basic economic theory. I have elaborated as 3M, main material and machine. So one refers to the labor, another refers to the production. Sir has already elaborated what is going to be the impact of COVID on availability of the labor. Okay, so here we agree that to larger extent, this is going to be the one of the issue, and it will lead in delay. Now, one of the indicator of the labor. So this is going to the graph which tells you the unemployment employment rate. So here you are able to see two lines. So one talks about the in rural sector, another talks about the urban sector. Here you will see that as far as the employment rate in rural sector is concerned, it is going to be higher than the urban sector. So what the problem is, level migration may be one of the reason, and this is going to be the very, very important indicator which gives us picture of the situation, what is happening in labor market. And during COVID period, it is obvious that employment rate has dropped a lot, or one can say the free fall. But again, as far as stability is concerned, this is moving towards the stability. There are so many regions, and these are going to be the one of the indicators. These are going to the figure. One talks about the labor participation rate, another talks about the year employment rate, third one talk about the unemployment rate. So these are the indicator of the labor market, and this is the scenario before lockdown. So here we see that it was moving around, LPR was hovering around 40%, 41, 42, 43. Now compare the same figure post COVID, and here lockdown was applicable from 24th March. So the figure of week ending by 29th March, 5th April, here we see that as far as labor participation ratio is concerned, there is the drop down, but drop down is not too much of the significant, from 43% to 35%. And another thing is the unemployment rate. Again, it has been increased a lot. It is obvious from the 8% to 23% or like something. So what has been told by the sir, what has been mentioned by the sir, it is going to be supported with all these indicators. So this is the story of the labor market. We see that there is a problem in the labor market, and these indicators are going to be in support of that. To certain extent, we are able to quantify. That is the one aspect. Another aspect is investment opportunity. So, okay, sorry. Another thing is that all these are going to be the region, but again, the problem with the situation of labor working with MSME firm and the large firm, this is going to be the different. We know that due to financing constraint, due to all limitation of MSME activities, the facility extended to labor is going to be far, far less than by the large firm. So as far as the labor is concerned, the situation of the worker working with MSME is going to be different from that of the large firm. And during COVID duration also, during lockdown also, many of the large firms has extended the campus residential facility so that they will continue their production, and to certain extent the employment was not a problem for the workers working with the large firm. But the situation of the level for MSME firm is going to be entirely different. Another indicator for the investment, always we see that a stock market Sensex in India, this is the Sensex of the BSE. So this is going to be one of the indicator which captures the movement of the economy. So now going through, this is going to be the graph of the last 6 months. And here we see that before COVID also, volatility was there, but more or less it was stability. But during COVID, there was free fall. And another figure, it talks about the during COVID. And here we see that now again, as sir has already mentioned, that now everything is moving towards stability and it is being visible. And this is the graph of the Sensex, BSE Sensex for the last 1 month. So it is visible that now our stock market is also moving toward the normal. Normal, what I mean that before the COVID-19. So this is one of the indicator. Third one indicator is going to be the financing. And the financing, what the interest rate one can expect. And here I have taken example of the risk-free. And this post office is going to be one of the instrument which offers you the risk-free interest rate. So this is going to be another indicator. And again, what the figure tells to us that there is no need to worry about the interest rate. So what I mean that to a certain extent, labor market has been hampered, but it is going to be improved. The stock market, which is indicator of the investment activities, it is going to be normal. And as far as the financing activity is concerned, what the indicator available in the financial market, it is going to be in support of the bright future of for the investors as well as borrowers. Both, all these are going to be the indicator. Now we should also focus on the factors which should be considered in order to have better prediction of the Indian economy after COVID-19. So before COVID-19, there many of the industry were hit due to slowdown, especially if we are going to talk about the automotive industry. So this is going to one, and there was volatility in the equity market. And as far as the banking industry is concerned, so it was in chaos situation, and especially if we are going to take two examples of the Yes Bank and the PMC Bank. So what is my meaning? That if we are going to be focused on assessing impact of COVID-19, so we should not forget all the villains which were acting and having negative impact on the economy. And if there is any absolute drop in the economy, everything should not be in the name of COVID. So there is possibility that in order to analyze the impact, we should forego all these things. But these are going to be the negative factor, and we are having negative impact on economy. So this we should not forget. And assessing impact on COVID-19 on economy is concerned. So some of the salient features are there, and many of the feature has already mentioned by sir also. So as far as the export is concerned, so Indian position in export market was not too strong, and due to the movement or due to impact of COVID in international market, sir has already explained that how international market has impacted as from the economic perspective. Export market of is almost okay as far as the competitiveness of Indian exporter is concerned. And again, I mentioned that the large firm, they have protected or they have minimized the loss by extending facility to the workers and other thing. And as far as the cargo and logistic movement is concerned, impact due to COVID was the less, and it was due to the rule implemented by local government as well as central government. As far as the agriculture and allied essential good industry is concerned, law permits and business was normal. Payment industry, there was boom, especially through digital mode. And here I would like to remind that there was advertisement by RBI governor that better to use or promote more digital mode of payment. And IT services, and sir has elaborated in detail implication of IT in education and other things, IT services. So there is boom. So what I mean that if anyone is going to assess impact, so there are some of the factors which are positive impact, there are some of the factors which are negative impact. So in order to assess impact on the economy, we have to consider both positive as well as negative factors also. Now, the sir has already discussed on the industry by like jewelry and all those. Here what I have done, I have divided into three sectors: primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. And have just presented some of the salient features of each of the sector. And to larger extent, I said also agreed that as far as primary sector, that is basically agricultural based, there was no effect on production, because during harvesting period itself, there was emergence of COVID, and situation went out of track during harvesting period. So up to certain extent, due to harvesting, this agri business was affected, but as far as the production is concerned, no. So processing is also delayed due to some stringent regulation, but those restriction has been relaxed in lockdown 2.0, and so that's why the net impact on value of the primary sector is concerned, it is not too much of the significant. And on the basis of my estimate, it is not more than 15 to 20%. That is going to be the negative impact on primary sector of COVID-19. Second is the secondary sector, which is going to be the manufacturing focus. So now there are two things. One thing is that production process affected. But again, the problem here is that many of the firms which had excessive inventory of the finished product, it was due to the slowdown because market was. So what is going to be the problem? There was low production, that is okay. But once this is normal, company has sufficient stock of inventory that can be sold, and the requirement of the customer can be fulfilled by all this. So again, if you are going to say that net impact on the value which can be consumed by the customer, there are two things. One thing is the value which can be produced by the company. Another thing is the value which can be consumed by the customer. So my analysis is the value that can be consumed by the customer by adopting the product manufactured by a manufacturing firm. So due to sufficient high level of the inventory of the finished products, there is no impact as far as the value which will be supposed to consume by the product. This is my one of the analysis. And as far as the tertiary sector is concerned, so again we see that sector like tourism and hospitality, it is washed out. Okay, but at the same point of time, as far as the digital services is concerned, this has increased. So now within tertiary sector, there is trade-off. One, a group of subsectors has been washed out. Washed out, I mean that for the time being, operation of this sector has been fully stopped. From the commercial perspective, many of the hotels has been required by the government for the quarantine center, all those things. But at the same point of time, IT-enabled services, there were boom. So there is loss and there is boom. So as again, if we are going to talk about the value, so I mentioned that as per the total quantification concerned, right now, data set is not sufficient. But what we see, what can rough on the basis of rough estimate, that more than 50% value of the tertiary sector has been eroded down. Against this backdrop, I am trying to summarize the sector wise, that what is going to be the post COVID scenario. So column 1 talks about the defense sector, column 2 talk about the futures, salient features, and column 3 talk about the what we can expect scenario after post COVID-19. So as far as the primary sector is concerned, Rabi crop is unaffected. Kharif product is also expected to be unaffected, because by that time we should have control all these things, means negative impact of COVID. So in very short time, it is likely that primary sector will move to the normal condition. Another thing is that as per the secondary sector, which is going to manufacturing base, man, machine, and material. So financing, we have seen that indicators say that there won't be any issue as far as the investment and financing concerned. Labors, they have been affected, but given the time, all the problem can be settled. So what we see is that 70% of the funds, here I would like to highlight that 70% of the productive assets in Indian economy is possessed by the large group. That is the, and on the other side, the employment, only 30%, 70% of the employment is going to be the MSME sector. So this is going to the contrast as far as the Indian economy is concerned. So here you see that 70% of the funds will move to normal condition in very short time. And as far as the tertiary is concerned, so 40% of the fund, here my estimation is based on the value, has been already bought out. But here we see a light of hope that digital service will boost tertiary sector to certain extent. And so here we see two different type of sectors. One is going to be the bust out, another is going to be having potential the boom. It is already boom. So in my opinion, that it will take 1 or 2 years more as far as the tertiary sector is concerned. Now contribution to our economy is concerned, this primary sector and secondary sector combinedly taken, combinedly, it is going to be more than 60%, and 30% is going to be the tertiary sector. So on this basis, we are going to say that rough estimate due to COVID, expected loss is going to be between 20 to 30% of the entire economy. That is the one assessment. Second is that post-COVID, very soon primary sector and secondary sector will come to the normal condition, but tertiary sector will take some of the time, and in my estimate, it will be 1 to 2 years minimum. So with this, now this is open for the questions session.
Thank you, Dr. Kunal. Thank you very much, Nandaraj Jogji, for your valuable ideas and comments on pertinent issues. I'd like to request Professor Prabal Kumar Sen from XLRI Jamshedpur and IIM Amritsar and chairperson of EDC to speak on this point and share his views with us. Professor Sen.
I don't think anything is left to be said on this subject, because both Nandarajji and Kunalji have covered most of the things which are important vis-a-vis Indian economy. And I fully agree with Kunal that agriculture is not so much affected. In the secondary sector, there will be impact to the extent of say 30% or so. And the tertiary sector, it is anybody's guess as to what will be the final outcome, because hospitality sector contributes a significant part of the tertiary sector as well as our GDP. And as he has rightly pointed out, that it is washed out at least for a year. And of course, digital services are, improving in terms of its coverage, in terms of its value, etc. And Nandarajji has talked about the broad issues. And in fact, KPMG report had also covered these issues. And he has rightly said that in certain sectors, for instance, jewelry, there will be more demand for gold as an asset, but there will be less demand for gold as a jewelry. He has also said that gone are the days when people would go in for fancy cars and fancy shops, etc. Now people will go in for frugality. So both of them have covered, the issue in such a good manner that there is nothing left for anyone else, least of all by me, to say anything on these issues. I would only place on record thanks to both the brilliant speakers who have unfolded the realities on the ground in such lucid and brilliant manner. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Today we have Mr. Chandrasekhar Balasubramaniam, Joint Chairman, BDMS Board of Trustees, retired Senior General Manager Finance of Tata Template Limited, and visiting faculty of XLRI Jamshedpur in this session. Sir, please give us your views on this topic as you are participating in this webinar session.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my views. Both the speakers have covered very widely, extensively, all the aspects of the issue. My fear is that if you take the breakup of the GDP in India, over the years, service sector has become more prominent than the agriculture and industrial sector. Service sector now contributes almost 65%. And it is this sector post-COVID which is going to be very badly affected, as given by both the learned speakers. So the overall impact on the economy will be somewhat severe, at least for next couple of years. That is my humble opinion. But I pray to God that we come back to normalcy as early as possible. That's my view. That depends on how soon we come back. If the lockdown is lifted, let us say within the next 1 month across the country, then services sector will bounce back, barring some of them like hotel, hospitality and airlines. This will take a long time to come back. But other services, IT and transportation and online delivery of goods, all these will come back normalcy. I honestly hope that the impact on the economy of the services sector will be somewhere between 20%. So if you take 20% of the 65% share of GDP, my guess is the economy overall will be impacted to the extent of 12 to 15%, which is a big impact. And the growth of GDP will be, if not negative, very nominal, maybe half to 1%. That we have to contain ourselves to this extent. As you have said, as you have recently seen, US economy has shown a negative of 4.5%. So that's a very huge impact. But I hope that we will be able to manage with at least a lower growth as compared to 5 to 6% than a negative growth. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to request another stalwart of the industry, Dr. Kevendra Kumar Upadhyay, founder director of CSR Consultants Incorporation, former director FICCI, head CSR, FICCI Aditya Birla CSR Center for Excellence, among us. He is also former advisor of Denmark Embassy. I would like to request him, please guide us. Sir, please, if you don't mind.
So that you to connect to me. Actually, the industry is suffering with a different kind of thing. When we had discussions with most of the stalwarts, they feel the revenue is going down by 50%. And they may have to cut salary also to the tune of 5 to 30%. The situation is worse in MSME. When we talk to them, most of them, if government doesn't come out with a package, they may have to shut down their shop also. especially I stay in Delhi. Delhi, I think, is going on for long because the way the condition is and the way the state government is fighting with the central government, we in Delhi don't feel that it's going to be open for very, very soon. So personally feel this is going on for a long time. We will be in lockdown for a long time. It will affect industry. The worst effectors, effect will be on the MSME and the casual labor, because we are talking about 30%, 50% workers coming to the site. So that will definitely affect the casual labor. The migration and all problems we need to address is going to be worse in coming times, because they'll be confused whether to come back or not to come back. Same, the businessman is confused. And so the government in Delhi at least is confused. Thank you very much.
Can I answer this,
Thank
please?
you. Yes, sir. Please.
While I 100% agree with Professor Upadhyay that the long term, the shutdown is or lockdown is going to be for very, very long time. It's not going to be lifted. It will maybe lifted again. It will come back. But as I mentioned, the resource kitty with the government is very, very limited. So we, the SMEs or small scale industry, should not expect government to give big grants, big help. I think it will have to be efforts from both sides, the industry as well as government, which can make it successful. The labor may also have to do some sacrificing, but with all the three together sitting across the table, a via media will have to be found. Because if we say that the government will support, it's not going to happen. If we say the management should bear the bill, it is also not going to happen because their resources are very limited. So there will have to be haircut from the employees, from management. The entire business model will have to be reworked to make sure that we work. Shutting down may not be the solution, because shutting down, everybody will suffer. So effort have to be made by jointly between the three, and I think via medias can be found out.
Thank you, sir. Now we are moving towards our question answer session, and we have already got questions. First one is coming from Mr. Tanmay Kulashrestha. Mr. Tanmay, please ask your question to our panelist. Mr. Tanmay, please unmute your microphone. Okay. We are moving towards another question coming from Pranali Bhattacharya. Madam, please ask your question.
Yes, good evening, Tathagato. Good evening, Rameshji and Kunalji. My question is specifically to Rameshji. My name is Barnali Roy Chaudhary, and I'm a consultant trainer on behavioral skills by profession. And apart from that, I'm also a homemaker. So I have a little concern here. My question is that across organizations, people are being asked to take pay cuts. Now, I see this impacting their investment habit, specifically individual investment in high risk, high return funds, and even in comparatively safer, relatively safer debt funds also. So is this going to impact families in the long run? So that is exactly my question.
Look at debt funds, which you are referring to, investments. They have been a very good return giver with lot of safety in the past. Over the last 4 or 5 years, I have found that the investments by AMCs have been done in below AA and even A category of companies. On the other hand, companies like DHFL, which was AAA, but the management itself has siphoned away the money. So we have to be very, very careful in while investing in debt funds, because the fund manager, what he does, and if he is not very careful, he can always put the money which will never come back. And the example that I gave you
Right.
is one. Same thing is PMC, Punjab Maharashtra Corporate Bank. There the management got along with unscrupulous people. So most important thing is check the fact sheet before investment. So otherwise the losses could be significant. A lot of people have lost a lot of money. And let us take the example of UTI AMC. Few of their funds, FMPs, which is again debt funds, have taken big hits because they invested in DHFL. Now DHFL or ILFS, both of them were AAA, but they didn't keep their ears to the ground, and they didn't keep on updating their records, checkings and all that. Because when I was CFO of Tata Steel, we had a lot of money to invest in overnight funds at say 5,000-6,000 crores at a time. And we were keeping our ears to the ground all the time. One full-time person was always moving around the corporates where we were lending. So that sort of a discipline will have to be kept. Yes, even now that credit risk fund, I have personally invested in some, and they are doing quite well. So my advice to the homemakers or even where anybody else is, check the fact sheet, check the track record, management of the companies where they are investing. Then only invest. Otherwise, the safest bet will be to invest in good blue chip companies, but then it's a long time battle. It's not only a few months or 1 year or 2 years. Invest for a long time, then you will come out winner. But invest in good companies and keep on looking at their management. Once you do that, you can switch over to wherever you have any doubt. You will come out winner.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. Dr. Kunal, this is a question from Mr. Tanmay for you. Please share some knowledge on government financial options, unsecured loans especially, for starting new startup post-COVID like Mudra Yojana. Dr. Kunal, this is for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be the you can say the very good or very bad, what I can say. But I am taking this is going to be the very good question. Now, as per the startup concerned, we look from government perspective. So government objective is very clear that if there is an opportunity which is going to be identified by any citizen, then it is responsibility of the government to help to the extent possible. And here the possibility of extending help is mainly focused on the financing. So as far as the ability of the finance is concerned, that is not a big task for the government. Now another thing is that the money should be channeled to the right target. That is the major issue with the government. And as far as the startup is concerned, a startup is a company having no history, no record, previous record. That is the major issue. So if there is any funding, in my opinion, it has to be in the grant. And the moment if there is any grant, it has to be limited in number, and in my opinion, it is not going to exceed more than 5 lakhs if it is going to the grant. That is the one constant on the government side. Another constant as far as this entrepreneur side is concerned. So they are looking for some of the innovative project idea, may be innovative, no doubt. But again, the question is the feasibility of the idea. Planning is going to be one of the things. More important thing is the execution. And here you will say that many of the startup is going to be failed. Now the question here is government financing. So answer is it should be done. Now further question is how much and to whom. That is going to be the major issue. So that decision has to be taken by a designated agency. It may be bank, it may be some of the think tank, it may be interdisciplinary committee which can be constituted by local government, central government, state government. Okay, so this is going to be the one thing. Who will identify the right person? And again, there are so many debate on the identification of the right person. But as far as Mudra, a scheme like Mudra is concerned, amount is not going to be too much. Per individual amount is not going to be too much. So even if it is going to be extended, there should be no harm. So in my opinion, the government should increase the scope of covering more individual under such a scheme post COVID-19. Because in my opinion, if you see the entrepreneurship success rate, it is going to be 1 in 1,000. And if you see the private equity success rate, it is going to be 10:1. If there is investment in portfolio of 10 company, only 1 company is going to be successful. And even the success of 1 company is going to be more than sufficient to recover the profit, the loss incurred in rest of the 9 companies. On the same line, if we are going to talk about the Mudra, so what I think that if success rate is going to be 1 out of 1,000, in that case, the success of 1 company may be able to recover the investment, in my opinion, in more than 500 companies. That is the one thing. And we can expect the success rate of all this because many of the scheme, I mean the business plan, it going to be the best on the established business plan. So for such a low fund scheme or low value scheme, such a scheme should be encouraged in numbers. So in my opinion, it has to be encouraged by the government. This is my own opinion.
Yeah, sure, sir. I'd like to ask Professor Shane on this very context of what Dr. Kunal has just told us, that many startup companies may fail. Sir, your views on this particular problem of entrepreneurship?
I fully agree with Professor Kunal that everything depends on the technical feasibility and economic viability of the startup. Now, depending on that, the banks will decide to finance it or decline the proposal for financing this kind of enterprise. Now, I don't think we should have any illusion about Mudra because Mudra is essentially a refinancing institution. It is not Mudra which lends to anyone. It is the primary lenders, that is the commercial banks, cooperative banks, regional rural banks, small finance banks. These are the ones who lend to a startup or do not lend. And they can only avail of refinance from Mudra. Like they could earlier, they could have availed of, or even today, they avail of refinance from NABARD, SIDBI, and now they can additionally avail of refinance from Mudra. So people should not have illusion that Mudra can come to the rescue of the startups. And I agree with Professor Kunal that the success rate in respect of the entrepreneurs all over the world, not only in India, all over the world is very low, However, the entrepreneurs whose projects are technically feasible and economically viable, though not much fanciful, they are expected to win, they are expected to they are expected to be sustainable on the economic field. That is my view on what Professor Kunal has said.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Is my video okay or not, Tathagat ji?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ठीक है.
It's okay. With this, we are going to conclude our session, but not. But before conclusion, I must thank you all, Nandaraj Jogji, Professor Shane, Chandrasekhar ji, and Upadhyay ji, and Dr. Kunal for your great comments, knowledge that definitely help us to sustain the pressure of post-COVID-19 scenario for Indian industries and for us also, because we are linked with the same industry and definitely we are going to work hard, every one of us. Thank you very much. Thank you for such informative webinar session. And we will meet again for another webinar session next weekend. Till then, stay safe, stay home, and be prepared. But our guests are said to overcome the pressure of post-COVID scenario. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.